Hello. Thank you for joining us for summer food service training. We will now turn it over to Valerie Bias, the Duval County Public Schools Food Service Supervisor.
Hello, welcome to summer training. I know this is a new experience, a new way of doing training. We're all trying to adjust to all these new experiences that we're having. Back in January, before all the fun started, we had our annual summer training, and we did receive an award for Duval County. We received the increase. That means we're serving more kids than we did the summer before, and we're closing the gap for the children that need our program and the ones that we're accessing through our summer feeding program. And we did win the first place award for that. So that was a very exciting event. I want to thank everybody that worked last summer. That you helped make this achievement, and I really want to say thanks to all the hard work that we did last summer. So we'll get started on the new training for this year. Also, I do have the banners for this summer. If you do not have a banner yet, just remind your DDS, or if you're over at the Southside Resource Center, you might want to try to pick one up. We do have the banners of the Duval County Food Service Office. The summer break spot banners, because on starting June the 8th, we're going to be serving regular summer lunches in this new way, but we will be feeding from the regular summer food service program. So today we're going to go over a general explanation of the program, civil rights requirements, how sites operate, the importance of record keeping, meal counting and claiming, monitor's responsibility, and other policy issues. So we'll go ahead and get started. The purpose of the program is to provide meals to children ages 5 through 18. They do not have to be a Duval County Public School enrolled child. It's any children between the ages of 5 and 18. And who administers the program? The Florida Department of Agriculture administers the program from the United States Department of Agriculture, the USDA. That's where we get our funds from. We turn in meal counts, and we get reimbursed for meals served. That's how we make money, and that's how we're able to pay Chartwells. So we do have to follow the guidelines from the Florida Department of Agriculture. Sponsor, we're the sponsor. Duval County Public School is the sponsor, and we are responsible for staff training, and it is required. Everyone must attend the training, and everyone must sign in on a sign-in sheet. We do have to enter this into the Florida Department of Agriculture's computer system. So if you change sites, or if you're not at the site that you were trained for, you're not in the system. So if the state shows up to monitor that site, they're going to be looking for the person who is trained. So it's very important that if you sign in to work at a site, that is the site that you work at for the summer, unless we work through the proper channels to get you changed to another site. You can't just go in and say, I'm at Central Riverside today, so I'll sign in on Central Riverside site training and I'll be good to go. Because the person that's doing the training will, that's doing the monitoring will look and see if you're the person that's supposed to be there or not. So please understand that. It's very important that we have the correct person working at the correct site. This, like I said, this documentation is required to be at the site. So it's going to be in your blue binder. You should have your site, a copy of your site sign-in log, and then we'll need a copy of that in our office. And that's what we will use to enter it into the FANS, which is what the FANS is, the program, the computer program that the Florida Department of Agriculture uses. So what matches your blue book must match what we have. This year, meals will be reclaimed if the person is not trained on site, if they don't have the correct person at the site. They will reclaim all the meals for breakfast and lunch for that day. Serving times, we're going to continue through June with our serving times of 11 through 1. So That's where both meals will be served at that time. We did get permission by the state to do this and to continue this way of feeding. But just remember, if you can't change that serving time right now, but if things do change in July or next summer, that you do have to have our permission to change your serving times. You just can't change them and go forward with that. You have to get permission from us to change it, and we must get permission from the Florida Department of Agriculture. Please make sure that you do have the Injustice for All posted up in your curbside pickup, and that is a requirement as well. The Injustice for All poster is changing. It will have the USDA building on it instead of the Statue of Liberty. If you have any questions or you need to notify, remember our email address is foodservice@duvalschools.org. This year we have a civil rights training video to watch. But just remember to put the poster up, and curbside delivery and civil rights compliance is everyone that works for food services responsibility. Everyone is responsible for treating everyone the same and making sure that our program is available to all the children in our community. So please pay attention to this video, and if you have any questions, just send them to me afterwards, at the end of the whole presentation.
The Civil Rights Act of 1964 guaranteed equal protection for all citizens, regardless of race, national origin, sex, disability, age, or religion. Here are some ways you can protect the rights of the families you serve and uphold equal opportunity and justice for all. First, advertise the benefits of your program to the community. Make sure to display the Injustice for All poster in a public space in your building to let people know you're serving meals to kids and that you will protect their rights. Also, be sure to include the phrase, "This institution is an equal opportunity provider" on all advertisements. This statement can go anywhere in your promotional materials as long as it's not the smallest print on your page. Second, survey your participants to ensure the entire community has access and is being served. Make sure you record all participants on the sponsor site review form. All forms and reports are cross-checked with area eligibility data to verify that communities are served with integrity. Use your best judgment when recording a child's race and ethnicity. Third, accommodate all participants regardless of disability or limited English proficiency. Make sure to recruit volunteers to speak other common languages to help with families with limited English proficiency. To find out more about which languages are spoken in your community and how you can accommodate families that speak them, visit lep.gov. Also, take steps to accommodate all disabilities, from food allergies to special physical abilities. Fourth, respond to and resolve all civil rights complaints and violations. Everyone has the right to file a complaint about unequal treatment. Each complaint must be recorded, reported, and resolved. Any disparate or unequal treatment of program participants is a direct violation of civil rights. Disparate impact or unintentional discrimination occurs when a rule or procedure causes a certain group to be treated unequally. Be sure to explain your commitment to equal opportunity and justice for all when resolving issues with patrons. If that doesn't work, a USDA civil rights complaint form can be filed for up to 180 days. The formal complaint must be submitted to your authorizing state agency within 5 days. Be sure to have your sites contact you right away in the event of a complaint to help them record and report the issue. Ultimately, things will be resolved by your state agency. If a civil rights violation occurs, or even if it doesn't, you may receive official visitors from the state who will review the civil rights practices of your program and offer corrective actions if needed. Don't panic if this happens. You will be given time and support to implement a solution. However, if you do not solve identified violations, you will no longer be able to serve meals. When you encounter situations you are not sure how to deal with, remember, civil rights is about equal opportunity, access, and justice for all. Treat the people you serve the way you would want to be treated. Remain calm and complex and call upon your state agency for support in resolving disputes. You have a tremendous opportunity to serve your community and be an example of equal opportunity and justice for all.
Okay, that was a great video. Just remember to treat everyone the same. Now, we have different types of sites for summer. At Duval County Public Schools, we only have one kind of site, and that is an open site. So that means we are open to the community, and everyone that pulls up, as long as they have their child or child's ID, they can receive a meal. So it does not matter if they are Duval County Public School children or not. They can be any children between the ages of 5 and 18, as long as the child is with the parent, the child comes up to the site on their own, or the parent has the child's ID. So just remember, there are all different kinds of summer programs, but that's the kind that we serve. The site supervisor's responsibility, okay? So for Chartwells, the site supervisor is going to be the cafeteria lead. So just remember to keep that in mind for the summer. The lead at the school is the site supervisor as far as the program goes for summer feeding program, okay? So the site supervisor, as the site supervisor / cafe lead, your responsibility is to attend training, and we have that documented training in our office as well as in your Blue Book. You will also ensure that civil rights is properly implemented. You will stay at the site for the entire meal service. You cannot leave and go somewhere else during meal service, so please keep that in mind. You need to be sure to communicate with us or your DDS to make sure you're serving your meals between 11 and 1 o'clock. That is the universal serving time for Duval County Public Schools. You are responsible for serving your meals, cleaning up after the meals, and implement trash removal. Ensure safe and sanitary conditions at the site. Ensure food safety and comply with local health and safety standards. Receive and account for deliveries. Now remember, when you're looking at a lot of SFSP forms and paperwork, when they're talking about deliveries, they're talking about the deliver of complete meals, like KHA does. KHA receives their meals complete. We are prepping our meals on site, so they're not asking for the delivery for your Cisco delivery, okay? So I have done a lot of our forms to change and meet our needs as Duval County, but you will see that in some of our forms where it'll have delivery time. When it's talking about the delivery time, though, it is not applicable to our program because we are prepping our food at each of our sites. For the most part, we will have some sites that are having meals delivered, but that's very few. Be sure to implement an alternative food service arrangement during inclement weather. Now, we haven't had this problem in the past because we were serving children inside the cafeteria, but now that we're serving curbside, we do need to make sure that we're making arrangements for bad weather. We're going to have some bad weather today and tomorrow, and just remember to think about how you're going to do that at your site. Also, we want to make sure, this is the most important thing, that we ensure accurate meal counts and making sure that those meals are counted at the point of service. The meal is served, the tally sheet is marked. That is the most important responsibility that you have as a site supervisor. Things to know about your site. Okay, so it's very tricky for us because we have a food service management company. We are the largest district in the state of Florida that has a food service management company. Our food service management company is Chartwells. So officially, we are known as a vended site. Most vended sites have their meals delivered to them, complete meals with the milk and everything included. We do not here. We are self-prep. So our official title is vended, but again, we do prep on site. So just keep that in mind. I know it's a little confusing. It did change a couple of years ago, and it's a little confusing, but that's the way the state has required us to be, and we must comply with that. But just keep that in mind, that if anyone asks what time your meals are delivered, remember to say you're a self-prep site. Some other things about site operations are our meal service requirements and serving times. We do have different meal pattern requirements for the summer food service program. They're different from what you do during the regular school year, which is the National School Lunch Program. Curbside and bus stop meal delivery. Remember, the child or the parent with a child's ID must be in the car at the bus stop to receive a meal. Do not, it's very important that you do this every day. If you let one person go by, you're just going to create more problems for yourself. So just remember to make sure that you are doing that. I know it gets old as we've been doing this for months at a time now. It's stretching on. It will be through the whole month of June, but just remember the child has to be present or the parent must have a child's ID. Tally sheets must be completed separately for each bus stop and curbside pickup. We're going to talk more about tally sheets later. The meal pattern requirements for breakfast and for lunch are a little bit different for the summer feeding program, but you must be required to record these on the production records to make sure that you serve a grain, a vegetable or fruit, or milk for breakfast every single day, all 3 items. Or for lunch, it's 2 ounces of meat or meat equivalent, 2 servings of vegetables or fruit, and they must be offered for a maximum of 3/4 of a cup, 1 serving of grain, and again, 8 ounces of milk. So all of these items must be recorded on the production record and served to the children. In the past, you do have to get our permission to have a meal service time and adjustment. But do keep in mind, your serving time shouldn't change. It should be from 11 to 1 for everybody for the whole district. So do keep in mind if inclement weather comes up and you may have to start serving like say 11:30 to 1:30 just for that one day. Just be sure to tell your DDS that that's what you're planning to do, and we'll make accommodations for that one day. But the next day you will have to go back to your 11 to 1 serving time. And that's just something to keep in mind if the weather is very bad for a certain time and you had to, close up and go inside. We're going to take that as we see it. Hopefully we'll have some good guidance for you what to do when it's raining. Remember to keep the chain of command, and this also applies for civil rights. If you have a civil rights complaint, you must, if you're not the lead, you must inform the lead. If you're the lead, if you're the cafe lead, then you must inform the DDS. The DDS will then inform the Chartwell's management team, and the Chartwell's management team will inform the food service office. And remember, it is a chain of command, not a chain of friends. So if you're getting your information from someone else who's not your DDS, you're probably not getting the correct information. So please keep that in mind that we all need to do this for the whole summer. It makes communication a lot easier if everyone follows these guidelines. Record keeping requirements. It is required that we do have documentation for the meal service. If we do not, we are not allowed to claim these meals. The only way our program makes money is through meals served. We do not get credit for the meals we prepare, but only the meals that we served. And we must have adequate records to show that these meals were served to the public and prepared correctly and all regulations were met. This is our blue binder that we have implemented to help you keep track of your production records and your tally sheets for the summer. In the past, we have had them completed more. This year, we're going to have mostly blank forms, and that's due to our current situation. So I hope that everybody will just keep in mind that be thankful for what you've had in the past. And this is a new summer, and we're going to try to do the best we can. And remember to complete the forms and put them back in the book every day. Please have a readable signature on all your paperwork. It is going to be checked and reviewed, and we need to make sure we're able to tell who signed the paperwork. So just keep that in mind when you're signing these forms. I know it gets old every day in and day out with the same papers over and over again, but I'm the one checking the tally sheets for the past March and April, and I know it does get exhausting, but just keep in mind we do need to read your signature as well as be able to read your paperwork. posted at your curbside service. This is what the summer breakfast and summer breakfast menu looks like this year. This is our daily meal count form for summer. I have changed this to just represent what we do here in Duval County. We only serve children. We do not serve any adults or any other people. So it's very simple. So I've created this form just for us, but just make sure that it is completed every day. You need, we're just going to do one meal type. So you'll circle both breakfast and lunch together. Just make one circle around both for that, because you only have to complete one tally sheet for both of the meals that you're going to give to the parents at one time. You'll put your meals prepared. If there were any leftovers, say you had prepared 20 and you have 5 leftovers, and you'll have a total meals available of 30. The numbers go down for the summer. For the school year, they were going across. Keep that in mind, that the numbers are now going down. And just remember to sign and date our forms every day. And each site will have a tally sheet, as well as each bus will have a tally sheet. Production records. Production records are required for our program. You must have a production record completed for each day of service. So I know a lot of times we're not really good about completing our production records. You may not have done it when you started working for Chartwell, but the best way to have a great summer is to have your completed production records every day. You start your production records in the morning for both breakfast and lunch, and then you make sure they're completed at the end of the day. But you do start them in the morning. You don't complete them at the end of the day. The second best time to start completing production records is now. So let's try to going forward, starting on June the 8th, let's remember to do our production records every day. They are important. Records are easy. I know they look very wordy when you look at them for the first time, but just remember, they are easy. Once you get the hang of it, it is very easy to complete your production records. So don't be discouraged, and just keep going and keep trying to get these completed, and your DDF will be available for you if you have any questions. They are regulatory purposes required for production records because they document the daily food use, and they also document that we are following the nutrition standards required for our program. Production records must be kept for the current year plus 5 years. Federal funds can be reclaimed or withheld as a consequence of incomplete production records. If the person comes out to review your site on Friday and you don't have any production records for the week, they can reclaim all breakfast and lunch meals for that entire week. So that could add up to be a lot of money. We need to make sure that we're getting every meal we can this summer and make sure that this does not happen to our program. So before you leave your site every day, make sure you have production records for breakfast and for lunch. Also, production records document that you are following food safety practices. A production record is a food tool for planning to order and prepare the right amount of food. So remember, this is supposed to help you do your job to the best of your abilities. It's not just to document everything, but it's also a tool for planning in the future and a way for you to keep track of what you're doing and make sure that you're heating all the food to the right temperature and you're preparing all the different components for the meal. It's a source of information for the nutritional analysis. We are required to provide a nutritional analysis of our meals. So we do need those production records for that. It does provide that what foods were prepared and offered for service. So if you are bringing leftovers for the next day, they need to be on your production record so you can make sure that you have enough food available. If you only cooked 20 of the new items and you used 10 items from the last day and you served 25, if you only have 20 prepared on your production record, you can see that that would be an error. So it is important to record the amounts of food and served for leftovers. And also, if your leftovers are only, for instance, the entree, then you would only have the entree for the leftovers. But if you do have all 5 components left over from the previous day, then you would need to make sure you record all your leftovers in each section on the production record. A production record is also useful information for forecasting future production records. So in the next upcoming, menu cycle, when say the pizza bagel is on the menu again and it's more popular than the other items, you know how much to cook, or you have some kind of idea about how many you need to prepare for that item. So it can be beneficial for you, not just as documentation for our records, but it also provides important information for you to do your job. Must have the projected number of servings, the amount of food prepared, any leftovers, recipe numbers or ingredients, a day, date, school, the age grade group. Remember, our age grade group is 5 to 18. Menu and portion sizes must be documented on the production record. Before, in the past, we have had the menus pre-printed. We were not able to do that this year, but just keep in mind, hopefully next summer we'll be able to continue with having the pre-printed production records. And we will just try to get through this this summer and make sure that we're feeding as many children as we can. Meal counting and claiming. This is the most important part of the school lunch program. All child nutrition programs require that meals be counted and claimed at the point of service. So that means the child must have their food in their hands when the tally sheet is marked. See these children in the line, they have their components on their tray, and now is the time to count that child. So remember, you hand the child or the parent the meals and then mark the tally sheet for every meal served. Now we're going to talk about our daily meal counts and meal count procedures. So tally sheets. As I've been counting and looking at the tally sheets for the programs that we've served, up to this point, I have, some red flags that I'm looking for when I look at this. They're the same things that we've gone over before in the past. If you've had, worked for the summer feeding program in the past, we do not have the registers this year. So your tally sheet is in place of the register. So the child must receive the food, and then the tally sheet is marked. So this is an example of a tally sheet that was not marked correctly because they did not give the meals one at a time. They drew the line straight down. So there's no in between, so you can't say that the meals were served one at a time. So when you start turning this kind of tally sheet, we cannot claim these meals because the meal service was not served correctly. So you see, we've all wasted our time with the school this day, so we can't claim these meals. So that's 40 lunches and 40 breakfast meals that we can't claim. Remember that these tally sheets are how we get paid. We only get paid for meals served, not for meals prepped. So if you're not serving the meals and you're prepping the meals, if you're prepping too many meals, you could be wasting money and, not doing not handling the money correctly. So just remember to keep that in mind. Another red flag that we see with tally sheets is block claiming. 60 meals were prepared and 30 meals were served on the 8th of June. $60 meals were prepped and 30 meals were served on the 9th. 60 meals were prepped and 30 meals were served on the 10th. And 60 meals were prepared and 30 meals were served on the 11th. So if you turn these meals in, these are the meals that we have to claim and submit. We have to keep this paperwork. And when we get audited by the state or reviewed by the state, they're going to say, how can you have the same number of kids show up for 4 days in a row? Now, I've been in this program for a long time. Over 20 years, I've been working for the summer food service program. There is no way that exactly 30 kids show up for your site every day. So if you do provide me with that explanation, I'm going to tell you that's not possible. That did not happen. So just remember, if you, it is possible for a couple of days, you might have the same number, but not for 4 days in a row. It doesn't happen. So please don't provide me with that explanation when I call you to ask for an explanation. That's why the meals need to be served one at a time and counted one at a time. Even though this is tedious, it is a requirement, so keep that in mind. Also, why are you prepping 60 meals if you're only serving 30? That's another question. That's wasting food. So you need to, you need to prepare less meals, and also make sure your point of service is correct. Also, I did not circle breakfast and lunch for my tally sheet, so that is an error. Remember that you need to circle both breakfast and lunch because we're serving both meals at the same time for this upcoming summer. Another red flag for tally sheets is you prepare and serve the exact amount every day. I see this continuously. How is it possible that you know how many meals to prepare? You should be preparing more than what you served. So if you prepare 30 and serve 30 for 3 days in a row, you need to increase your preparing because obviously you're running out. That's the only explanation that could be provided because there's no way to know when you're preparing your meals that you prepare the exact amount. This is a red flag for people completing production records and tally sheets at the end of the day. That you're just doing it, signing off on it, and turning it in. It's not exactly what happened at the school that day. I know these paperwork and these tally sheets do get tedious day in and day out. I served meals from a food truck for a whole summer. I know it's very hard to do this every single day to make sure it's done, but it is required, and it is the way that we make money so that we can keep everyone employed. So at the end of the day, when you're completing your paperwork, just remember, we're going to get paid for that amount. So it's like, would you pay somebody for this paperwork that you're turning in? Think about it like that at the end of the day, and make sure when you're making sure all your forms are signed and dated correctly, make sure that they do make sense. You cannot prep the number that you serve. It just cannot happen in food service. So just remember to circle your grade groupings. You're going to be serving K-5 through 9 through 12. So you'll need to make sure on your production records that you're circling all 3 grade groupings at once. Make sure that you're completing your site and your dates. Also, there is a event for unusual events, that there's some kind of bad weather. We won't have any field trips for the month of June, but if you have any kind of hurricanes or anything like that, you can have, be sure to write that down, or any kind of explanation, for anything that happened at your site. Say that electricity went out and, or, whatever reason why parents would not show up that day, just record that on your unusual event space on your production records. Here is an example of a production record for breakfast. Remember the planning section, A, B, and C. At the top, it says column A, column B, column C, and then you have D, E, F, G, and H. Remember, what you plan doesn't necessarily have to match what happened. Maybe you usually have around 30, 35 people show up, and one day you had 50. So you prep for 30 on the left side, but on the right side, you have to document that you made 50. Also, remember to do on the production record, to do what you're preparing. You do have to prepare the menu every single day, the menu for that day, and bring your leftovers from the previous day in either the one category where you had leftovers or in all 5 categories. Remember, when you're serving a leftover hamburger, the hamburger meat counts as the meat alternative, and the grain would count, and the hamburger bun would count as the grain. Remember that you have all 3 components for breakfast and 5 components for lunch. We do have instructions provided in your blue binder, broken down A, B, C, and D, E, F, G, and it provides an explanation of what goes in each box. The more you do the production records, the easier they get. They are very easy, and you must have your leftovers. If you're going to carry leftovers from the next day, you do need to document that on the day before. The more you do the production records, the easier they get. Just remember to keep this in mind when you're doing them. They must be completed every day before you leave. They need to be started in the morning. They do not need to be completed at the end of the day completely. You have to start your production records in the morning, and then you finish them in the afternoon. It's okay if you have to erase and make changes. That's what they're for. So we do recommend that you use pencils for your production records, but they should be clear and easy to read. And, you know, and they do need to document all items that were served that day. Remember, if it's not documented on the production record, it did not happen. So if you served leftovers and you didn't put them on your production records, you didn't do that, okay? So we don't need to hear about your explanation or what you thought you did or what happened. If you don't document it on your production record, it did not happen, okay? Remember to, you know, make sure you have all items on the menu recorded on your production record. Also, a thing that we have a problem with in Duval County is using, you know, it's just, if you make a mistake, if you didn't use your pencil, you can't erase it, just draw one line through it. Don't scratch it out where you can't read it. One line through the number is completely sufficient. You just mark out, like in this one, it says adult student seconds. They have 9 down, and then they cross that out and put 0 beside it. That's all you have to do to change a mistake, okay? So keep that in mind as you're filling out federal documents. This is an example of the point of sale. The person comes up or drives up in their car. They are handed a meal. The tally sheet is marked. The person comes up. The meal is served. The tally sheet is marked. That is the only way to serve meals for the supper program, for the lunch program, for the breakfast program, for the summer program. All child nutrition programs require this, and that's why you have the tally sheet to document that you served one meal at a time and it was counted one meal at a time. Please do not use whiteout or correction tape or scratching through where you scratch through a number. Any kind of thing like that shows is a red flag for fraud. That you're using fraud. So just remember, all of our paperwork for our program is all federal documents, and you cannot use whiteout or correction tape on federal documents. Okay, on the back of your blue binder, we have this information to you to remember what to turn in for your blue binder. So every day that you serve meals, you should have tally sheets and production records for breakfast and for lunch, and then one tally sheet for breakfast and lunch. Supper program is a little bit different. You will have a tally sheet for the supper program as well, and production records for the supper program. Every meal that is served must have a production record to back that meal up. There's a place in the back for your pocket to put your health department inspections in. You can also keep copies of your site visits and site reviews in the back pocket. We are going to try to provide the 3-hole punches. They don't usually make it from summer to summer, so they're not the best. So kind of be gently when you use our 3-hole punchers. I'm always on the lookout for a better quality 3-hole punch, and I have yet to find one. So please keep in mind that they need to be used delicately when you're punching holes in your paperwork to put back into your blue binder. What should not be in the blue binder in the end of the summer? Please take out your recipe, your inventory logs, and your temperature logs, because they're not required to be kept for federal documentation. So we just want the items that are required for the, to document the meals claimed. So that's why we want you to take those out before you turn it in at the end of the summer. Remember, don't be afraid of making mistakes. Only when you're sleeping, one makes no mistakes. So it's okay to make mistakes. We just have to improve and go forward from there. At the end of your day, you must make sure before you leave the site that your paperwork is completed. Make sure your tally sheet is readable. Because remember, it's going to have to be scanned, people. So, you know, it doesn't need to be scratched through, but it does need to be readable. Is your tally mark on your tally sheets readable? I don't care if the slash goes from left to right, right to left, left corner to right corner, right corner to left corner, or straight across, or a circle. As long as you can read that tally sheet and see how many meals you served. Please keep that in mind when you are turning these in to be scanned. Also make sure that they will make it through the scanner. If they're done in pencils, you might want to start using a pen to use your tally sheets because they will be, hold on, my computer just locked. I have to sign back in. Meals served, which is just a record at the front of the book where you keep a record of how many meals served you served that day. So for June the 8th, you record your meal count just in one spot. Because like I said, the breakfast and lunch meals are served at the same time, so there's no reason to have two spots. We're going to have a completed site supervisor's record of meals served. It should look like the ones you've served in the past, except you won't have one for breakfast and lunch. You will just have one little spot to put that number in for the day, and that's at the beginning of the book behind the training log. You just record that in and make sure your production records and your tally sheet is in the blue book. You need a production record for breakfast and for lunch, but only one tally sheet for the day. Then you can go home and enjoy your night with the knowledge that you had a day well spent feeding our children. Right now we have every school marked to serve one point of service at the curbside. So if for some reason somebody wants to set up two drive-up locations at a school, that cannot be done right now. If you do want to talk to us about that, you do need to discuss that with the food service office, and we do have to get permission from the state to do that. So you will have one point of service at your school for curbside pickup, and then the buses will be delivering meals at their locations. But at the school location, there should only be one point of service. All your sites will be monitored throughout the summer by our staff, the Duval County Public School Food auditing staff. So just remember to be prepared when they show up at your site. They are going to make sure that site operations and site personnel are taking place and that the documentation is recorded. They're going to make sure the program operates in accordance with our regulations. Make sure the menu is served. Make sure that And Justice for All poster is posted. Make sure that everyone is following civil rights and treating everyone the same. They're going to visit all sites within the first week of food service operation. That's called the site visit. The site review is a longer form, and that is they'll do that where they will watch the entire meal service. So your site monitor will have to watch your whole meal service from 11 to 1. They should be standing there watching the meals being served and see if they see any problems with your operation and document that on their form. So they will do and prepare these reports and submit them to our office and make sure that they're resolving any critical errors with the director and with your DDS. If it's necessary, if they find corrective action, they do need to revisit the site to make sure that the corrective action has taken place. So if corrective action needs to be submitted, they'll make sure that those steps are taking place in a follow-up visit. They'll make sure that the training has signed this form and that everyone on site has been trained. This is the pre-operational visit. We do have to complete these now. They're just pretty much, our schools are always prepared to serve meals for the child nutrition program. So that's just making sure that we're all set to go with feeding children. So there shouldn't be any problems with your pre-operational visit form. The sponsor site visit, as Duval County is the sponsor, our Duval County staff will be completing the site visit forms. This does have to be taken place in the first 5 days of operation. And it's just to make sure that the site is starting off on the right foot, that everything's being documented, the meals are being served with the correct point of service, but the tally sheets are being filled out correctly. And they'll just looking to make sure everything is taking place as it should for that site visit. They don't have to stay for the entire meal service to complete the visit. The site review is longer. It is a 7-page form, and it is the monitor that completes this form should stay for the entire meal service. They should stay from the beginning, get there before meal service to make sure that enough food was prepped, that production records have started being completed, and that food safety practices are being done during the food preparation process. And then they will watch the entire meal service from 11 to 1 to make sure that all the meals are served correctly. And they will be completing this form, and this is where they record the race and ethnicity of our participants. And we do compile that list for next summer to use on our application to operate the program for the next summer. They need to make sure that we're serving all races and ethnicities for our program for civil rights documentation, and that is done on this form as well. Any corrective action, like I said, it might be completed that day, or they might have to revisit the site to make sure that the corrective action needed is taking place. Other people that can visit your site during the operation of the Summer Food Service Program are the Florida Department of Health. They should be out inspecting our kitchens. The Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, FDAC, can also show up at any time. And also the United States Department of Agriculture can also show up at our site. Be prepared. If you're prepared and following the rules every day, you will not be upset when someone shows up to be a monitor or to monitor your site. The Florida Department of Agriculture has contracted with EchoSure. Chartwells has used EchoSure in the past. They no longer use them. But you might still have visits from EchoSure, and that's going to be paid for by the Florida Department of Agriculture. So if an EchoSure person shows up at your site to review and make sure everything is done, that is okay. Be sure to let them in. They should have their proper IDs and documentation that they do work for EchoSure. They started doing this last summer. I don't believe they went to any of our sites last summer, but they should be out in force for 2020, and they're going to make sure that all food safety, practices are complied with with our meal preparation process. They can also train and teach people on on the importance of food safety. There's an opportunity for site specialists to find the root cause and to discuss best practices, understand the importance of food safety and ask questions. And we all have the same goals, and that's always to serve safe food. So just remember that when they're coming to your site, they're just there to make sure that everybody is following safe food safety practices. They're going to make sure the product of the food is, that we're serving quality products, that we're not heating up the meals at 8 o'clock in the morning and keeping them in the warmer till 11, because, that definitely, messes up the quality of our items if they're sitting in the warmer too long, and make sure they don't have an expiration date that has gone past, documentation. And make sure that the kitchen is sanitary and the trash is being, disposed of properly, and there's not insects and rodents around. We hopefully won't have any stop sales issues, but they are allowed to stop sale if they do find a problem with temperatures being out of date, out of temp, and food that is unsafe for human consumption. So just remember they are allowed to do the stop sale. I have to sign a form that's saying that you agreed with their findings and that they have discussed any questions that they have with you before they leave the site. They will be getting this information from you. Some of the problems that they had in previous audits are that, this is from last summer when they went around the state of Florida looking for issues. They did find the following things: that the cold food was greater than 41 degrees and hot food was less than 135. Potentially hazardous food temperatures were requirements were met at delivery and service. So, when the food was delivered, and that's talking about, like I said, the completed meals. At self-prep sites, we do need to make sure that we heated the food up to the correct temperature and documented on our production record that we did that, or that the food was kept at 41 degrees and below for the cold items. All of our meals will be served, as I believe right now we're serving cold meals. So every item should be documented that it has been brought back down to temp as it was heated up and cooked previously, that it was brought down to 41 degrees and documented at the time that it was served. They're making sure that hand washing facilities are available with hot and cold running water. Also, they'll be making sure that insects and rodents and other pests are not around, and that the garbage and trash is being disposed of properly. So those are 5 common errors from last summer. So please watch the following video from the Florida Department of Agriculture about food safety.
We all have an important role to play when it comes to food safety. The Center for Disease Control estimates that 1 in 6 people suffer from foodborne illness every year as a result of unsafe food. Your role in making sure food we serve is not only healthy, but safe. Here are a few precautions you can take. Precaution 1, stay at home if you're sick. If you feel a sickness coming on, tell your fellow site staff that you need time to rest. Don't plan on coming back until your symptoms have been cleared. Precaution 2, wear clean clothes. We all have that favorite shirt we like to wear, but do us all a favor and wash your clothes before you wear them again. Remember, safety over style. Caution 3, wash your hands before serving. Use warm water and soap to scrub your hands for 10 to 15 seconds. Rinse and dry with paper towels or a hand dryer. Always use gloves or clean serving utensils when handling unpackaged food. When it comes to food preparation, keep these simple rules in mind. Wash all fruits and vegetables before cutting or cooking in clean water without soap to reduce soil, microbes, and pesticides. Be aware of cross-contamination. This happens when raw food comes into contact with ready-to-eat food. Do not store raw meat above ready-to-eat food or allow any contact between the two. Sanitize and wash all utensils and dishes with warm water and appropriate solution. This includes your thermometer. Precaution 4, when it comes to cooking, you need to make sure food reaches minimum internal temperature. Beef, pork, veal, lamb, fish, and shellfish should reach 145 degrees Fahrenheit after 3 minutes of rest time. Brown meat, meat mixtures, and casseroles, including beef, pork, veal, and lamb should reach 155 degrees Fahrenheit. Poultry of any form should reach 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Once food is cooked to the proper temperature, be prepared to serve it within 1 hour. If you cannot serve it within 1 hour, place it immediately in hot or cold storage. Cold storage should be 41 degrees Fahrenheit or cooler. And hot storage should be 135 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer. Once your food is stored properly, it will be ready for transportation to its service location. Transportation should be quick and all equipment tightly sealed to reduce the risk of temperature fluctuation. Make sure your dining area is clean and that all patrons wash their hands. Check all meal packaging expiration dates and make sure that none of the seals are broken. Wear gloves if serving family style and serve food within 1 hour of delivery. Make sure kids wash their hands and focus on eating the food to minimize risk. And be sure to tell kids to dispose of any food that falls on the ground. If you sense that food has become unsanitary because of time, temperature, exposure, cleanliness, contamination, or for any other reason, stop the service and dispose of the food. It's better to be safe than sorry. These are just a few ways you can ensure that your food is safe and ready to serve. Happy serving!
Okay, so just remember that it is your responsibility to make sure the food is served safe. And we do have some extra food safety guidance for the way that we're serving meals now. So just remember that during this time of the coronavirus, that we do need to try to avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Of course, this is always during food service, but extra precautions are needed at this time too. So be sure you're covering your cough or sneeze with a tissue or into your elbow. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces. And all staff should wear gloves when handling and delivering food. And the gloves should be changed between bus stops. We do have these food safety guidances available at your site. So if you do have any volunteers or people showing up to hand out the meals, be sure you go over this with them every day before food service. Not every day, but when they first start with their handing out of the meals. Some extra things to prevent the spread of respiratory illness is no one who feels sick should participate in delivery. Try to maintain distance of 6 feet between delivery team and customers as much as possible. So you want to make sure you're doing that throughout the summer. Wear a mask to protect yourself and to protect those around you. Wash your hands and use hand sanitizer often, and please change your gloves between each bus stop delivery. Remember to keep your hands clean. Wash your hands as much as possible. Those making deliveries on buses must change their gloves between each bus stop, and ideally hands should be cleaned by thorough hand washing with soap and water. However, if this can't be done, remember to use your hand sanitizer and changing your gloves. Children and their caregivers should be advised to wash their hands after receiving their meals and before consuming any delivery. So remember to advise your people to wash their hands in a friendly manner when you're handing out the meals. I said inclement weather has not been a problem for us in the past because we were feeding the children inside of buildings. But keep in mind, if inclement weather is a problem for a day, and you need to change your meal service time for that day only, you need to get permission from your DDS. Your DDS must call us and verify that that is being done for that day. We're going to do a little thumbs up, thumbs down game just to go over some important points of the presentation. Children? Thumbs up. Yes, we are. Remember, the children always need to come first in our service and delivery of meals. without washing your hands. That is definitely a thumbs down. Always wash your hands when you return to the kitchen. From being outside on your phone. Just kidding. Telling the children welcome when they drive up or enjoy their lunch when you're handing out the meals when they're leaving. Is that a good practice? Absolutely. Thumbs up. Smiling as you served your bag meals. Now, you shouldn't be able to see your smile because you have your face mask on, but they can still tell with your manner and your mannerisms. Remember, if you're smiling underneath that that mask, it'll show through with your meal service, and as well as with your cooking. Your food will taste better if you smile when you're cooking it. That's definitely a thumbs up. Telling the state reviewer, I don't know, when they ask what time meal service starts, or they ask any question, I don't know. No, you say, I will get back to you with the correct answer after I speak with my DDS. That is definitely a thumbs down. Remember to treat everybody with good customer service, including your monitors and reviewers. Reheating the chicken nuggets from the day before to 140 degrees. That is thumbs down. All leftovers, regardless of whether they're poultry or beef or whatever, all leftovers must be reheated to 165 degrees. Only leftovers from the day before. Thumbs down. You must prepare the menu for that day, even if you only have, if you're only going to prepare very small amounts because you have a lot of leftovers from the day before. You still are required to serve the menu, so you do need to prep and make sure that you have the items on the menu available. So that is a thumbs down. Completing tally sheets with signatures and dates and completing your production records before you leave every day. Thumbs up. That is a great practice to start and continue out throughout the whole summer. You didn't record the buns for your hamburger on your production records. You didn't have a grain for that day. Down. You don't have every component on your production record that the state can reclaim all the meals for that day. You must serve all components for it to be for us to claim those meals for reimbursement. So keep that in mind. All right, just remember, if you have any questions, you can submit them to my email address at biasv@duvalschools.org or foodservice@duvalschools.org, or you can call our office. Y'all should all know our number. It is 732-5145. And let us know if you have any questions. You can speak to Valerie, and I should be here in the office. If I'm not, I definitely can answer via email. Also, remember that we're all trying to get through this period of time together. Things are changing day by day. Do try to remain flexible. We'll try to provide you with as much support as we can in our office. And we know it's going to be a little bit difficult this summer, and we all need to get through this, and we all need to keep and maintain our positive attitude throughout the meals. And remember that we are here for the kids, to make sure that our children are receiving the best quality food throughout the summer, to make sure that they are able to enjoy and continue with our programs. So just keep that in mind, and remember, good customer service and civil rights. Treat everybody the same, and we'll have a great summer. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, Valerie. This concludes our presentation.